This man is guilty.
It's important to get with the majority, isn't it? That's a big thing nowadays, isn't it, Reverend?
That's all there is the majority. The minority must have died on the cross 2,000 years ago.
You seen the light, Reverend. You really seen the light.
Have you? Have any of you? In all this darkness, is there anybody who can make out the truth? He hated, and he killed, and now he dies. And you hated, and you killed. And now there's not one of you, who isn't doomed. Do you know why it's dark? Do you know why there's night all around us? Do you know what the blackness is? It's the hate he felt, the hate you felt, the hate all of us feel, and there's too much of it. It's just too much. And so we had to vomit it out. And now it's coming up all around us and choking us. So much hate, so much miserable hate.
Look what's happening. It's getting even darker now. I can't hardly see anything now.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird brain. It's a plane. It's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who, disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
All right, hey, it's Walter from iWalter. I have not, made any new material, I think, in about 3 weeks, and there's a reason for that. Now, today is the 21st, and it's Father's Day. It's June 21st. It's only like another week left in this month, and then we're in July, which is funny because in another week, today was was Father's Day, and then next Friday is my dad's birthday, so it's kind of weird. Anyway, not that it's important to anyone, probably not even me. I haven't done a show because I just needed a rest, and I'm so sick of all this rioting, which is now happening like a few yards down the road from where I live, and that is really very irritating with this large amount of white folks protesting on Black Lives Matter. It's just out of hand, and it really concerns me because I'm afraid there's going to be riots and protests and vandalism around here, because it seems like everywhere these quote-unquote peaceful events take place, they turn into large riots eventually, pretty quickly, actually. By the way, I had taken a segment. There was many things. I couldn't find everything after a while. Like, it was just stirring up all this nonsense with, what do you call it, these protesting and these riots and these people that are just basically, in my opinion, brain dead. Not that it's the same thing, but there's a person I work with, a friend, I guess I can consider him, and I said something jokingly about using the word black, and he says, "Oh, I'm colorblind." Well, I hate to tell you, these people who say they are colorblind are the most racist people most of the time. I'm not saying that he is. I'm just saying, as a general statement, if you have to point out that you're not racist, that usually means that you are. So it's just 9 times out of 10, that's the case. If you're not racist, you would never mention it, because years ago when I was growing up, I didn't mention that I like black people and I think they're discriminated against. I just never said anything. Now you have to just go out of your way, way out of your way, just to make sure everybody knows. And we have a woman at my job now that does that exact thing. She has to make sure everybody knows that she's not racist and that she actually was married to a black husband and had a child that was half black, and makes sure that all the black folks know this stuff. Like, she's got to go out of her way, and how that all the discrimination and the racism is coming from white people. Yeah, you are a racist. It's not that you're not a racist. You just proved to me you are a racist. So anyway, the best thing, it stirred in my mind tonight, because my mother and I had taken my dad actually drove, but we had taken him out for dinner, or an early, like a brunch or late brunch, whatever you want to call it, because it's my time right now as I'm doing my show. It after 3 weeks, it's after 8 o'clock at night. So yeah, it stirred on me, because it was like I never really thought about that, but there was a Rod Serling, or whatever how you say his name, because I always get it wrong, a Twilight Zone, that actually kind of touched upon this, and this was done back in the 60s, and it was one, I Am the Night, Color Me Black, and it was a big irony, because it was like everyone was hateful towards everybody else. Everybody was racial against everybody, and it was a black priest in this episode who kind of brought it to everybody's attention that we are all guilty, and we've lost our way. He said the last, quote unquote, if you heard that beginning, if you have not, check it up, because it is up on YouTube. That's where I actually pulled the file, the video file, at the very end, because that's the best part of that whole entire episode. It's a bit wordy, very long. Twilight Zone again. It's called I Am the Night, Color Me Black. But that priest has a very powerful statement at the very end of the episode. Basically he said that just blew my mind when he said this. I mean, it's incredible writing. I don't know, because a lot of that stuff was not written directly by Serling, but a lot of it was. But he actually says, the priest says at the very end, he says the last of the minorities had died 2,000 years ago. Basically saying the last of minorities was Christ himself died on the cross. He was the last of the minorities. So this whole thing of victimization and everything else is just nothing but total nonsense, and it's just politicized by the Democrats over and over again, and they seem to find people who think with emotions and not logic, and they are brain dead people, and there just seems to be a new generation coming up all the time of more stupid people. So yeah, that's the whole thing. That's why that just stuck in my mind. That whole thing just stuck in my mind. I was like, you know what? I really got to pull that, because there was actually another thing I was actually going to pull and pull the audio off of. There was a police officer today, a female police officer, not today. I got to look at that date. And she was being harassed by a Caucasian, and the guy was harassing her with a knife. Now, this time it was a female white officer with a oh God, what did I just say? A white guy. And he was coming at her with a knife. That's not cool. So the thing is, though, she ended up shooting him. Now, is this going to turn into more riots and that this was racist? Probably no. But the whole point is, you hear about these cops that are out of control. They don't like black folks. They are racist. But if this situation, which it did, was a white officer, female officer, there was some idiot shooting the video footage of it. But is it going to go any further than that? Probably no. Again, video: man with knife chases lone cop around car before she shoots him. The Police Tribune. So you don't hear about this stuff. You don't hear when it's it made it on Facebook, but it was made by a police, blog or whatever. And somebody was stupid that shot it in some ways. In other ways, it was good. But it does prove the point. Okay, if you're a white female and, you're an officer, nothing's going to happen about it. If she, heaven forbid, if that poor woman got shot and killed, which there is a couple of female officers that were, man down during duty, and I don't hear any riots happening with that. So I'm just trying to make a point, which I think I just did, and make it very clear. By the way, my friend Matt was asking me, thank you for taking me out last night, Matt. He asked me, do you know what's going on, what the big deal is about yesterday, 20th? Was it yesterday or was it on Friday? I thought it was yesterday. Tucson, Arizona. I was like, no, I really don't know. And he acts like, or you acted like I don't follow up. You know what? Honestly, I do listen to every day during the week. I do listen to the news when I'm not cleaning the house before work for my parents. And I'm actually kind of like where you were at, Matt, where I'm kind of like almost burned out. Like there's so much nonsense going on. I can't almost absorb anymore which I already have, that I just go AWOL. And quite a few times I've actually done that recently. I've lost my temper very easily, very short fused. So that is why I don't know every little nook and cranny of political news right now. I know enough, and even that's way too much, because I told Matt, which you did respond back about, I was watching the Blaze TV on Pluto TV the other day, because that's free on Pluto. Anybody can get that on their phone, their TV set, or their computer. It's basically free cable. And they've collected a lot of cable networks now and added it to Pluto TV. So one was the Blaze, and I was watching a few of those shows, and I ended up going to bed that night that I could not sleep. When I finally fell asleep, I had a really, really bad nightmare that I was involved. I got caught up from the receiving end with these Antifa people, and it was really scary that it woke me up to that I thought they were trying to kill me. That's what woke me up. So, you know what? I'm at the point right now that enough already. I can't take any more information in without losing my mind anymore. I have very little bit of that left, and I can't afford to lose any more. So that's the whole thing. That's my excuse, if you want to put it that way, Matt. I don't know. But, boy, I really lost track now of what I wanted to say. But, yeah, with that, the Trump rally, thank God there's a woman on Facebook. I hope you don't mind me mentioning her name. Her name is either Debbie Cortez or Cortez. She's great. She's very conservative. And she does post. I take almost 3/4 of the stuff she puts up and I repost it just for when I get close to doing another iWalter episode. I can just pull her stuff because it's really good. So you won't see this in any source that the Trump rally in Tucson yesterday, Arizona, actually drew large crowds, because all I see is that it did not. And then in addition to that, they say not only did it draw large, it did not draw large crowds, which is a bunch of BS. It also, Trump had created a problem where the coronavirus is going to pick up because, okay, if the crowds aren't that big, you wouldn't have to worry about that. So they say in one sense, in these articles that I try to find one that was a little bit, or a bit legit, as opposed to these that are just trying to bash Trump. But they say in one sentence, well, you know what? The turnout was almost empty when the Trump rally happened in Tucson, Arizona. And then in the next sentence, it says, well, there's going to be an rise in the coronavirus. So, okay, make up your mind. So the thing is, though, a lot of people are not buying into this stuff. And if it was so bad, how come they did not say the same thing when you have these riots in Philadelphia? Why didn't they say this when they have these riots in other states? And around here, it was King of Prussia, down the street in Trooper, PA, Norristown, Lansdale, and other places. They've had these peaceful protests. I apologize. Peaceful protests, which most of them turn into riots. The ones in Philly were riots. People were bashing in, killing people, and destroying private property. But you know what? Hey, that's great because you're speaking your mind. But if you go to a Trump rally, that is a bad thing. For some reason, the coronavirus only shows up at Trump rallies and does not show up for Black Lives Matter situations, which I didn't know that. So yeah, it is just really, really annoying. So anyway, Debbie, getting back to her, she put down Trump rally draws over 4 million viewers, pre-show over 2.5 million. So I did go to a Trump rally before he got elected, and it was incredible. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I just don't understand. I mean, and I'll tell you, it was really scary today because right down the road from where I live, like walking distance, there's a Walgreens. I keep on want to say for some stupid reason, I want to actually say, Drug Emporium, because that's the big thing back when I was growing up or actually worked at. But yeah, it's Walgreens. Well, get this. There was a little girl with a megaphone screaming out, "Oh, blow your horn! Make sure you blow your horn!" This little kid was getting her rocks off. A white little girl, on telling people you need to blow your horn, that you accept black people and you're for Black Lives Matters. Black Lives Matter. And it was like, that's all that's out there is black people. There is no other nationality. And going back to that one friend at work, he says, like, I'm colorblind. Well, you're colorblind only if the person's black. You yourself try to act like you are yourself probably of descent from Africa. Well, if you really want to be technical, all of us came from the continent of Africa. All of us, all the human beings came out of that one continent. That's one theory. So theoretically, we're all African Americans. And by the way, FYI, smack for smacks out there. Africa is a continent. It is not a country. It's not like the United States. It is a continent. There is many different countries on the continent of Africa, because I was one of these people who foolishly years ago thought that Africa was just all quote unquote to be politically correct, African Americans. Well, yeah, people who come to the United States from Africa are African Americans, but you got to remember there is many different countries there. Many different countries. And there is South Africa, which predominantly most of those people are English descent. And surprisingly, they are African American, but they're white. So you're talking about being colorblind, but you just turn everybody that you have to say African American. I really should say that I'm Italian American. If you're Jewish, you should say you're a Jewish American. That is just total nonsense. When people see a white person, they either say they are, if you're of African descent that are black, you're going to call a white person or a quote-unquote probably a cracker. So, but that's okay. Saying that a person is black is discriminatory and offensive, and they are African American. Okay, well, that's one person. That's like saying that I'm an earth white, Caucasian. That makes no sense. It's stupid. It is really, really dumb. And the only people who say that are the people who say they are not racist, which they are, and have no fucking clue what's going on around them. They are mindless zombies. So, yeah, I'm and somebody comes up to me, I should just say, yeah, you know what? I am a Caucasian Earthling. And see how they answer that, because it's just so... Why do you have to hyphenate shit? There is no reason to do so. It's just a way of victimizing yourself. I hope people understand that. Probably they don't, because they're too stupid. Really, really stupid. And you're hearing it from me, who is partially, in reality, not theoretically, brain dead. And I can see it. So that is saying a lot. So, yeah, just to let you know. A brain dead guy can tell you that you're an idiot. So, I can't say it enough, and I enjoy it every time I do say it, just to let you know. Anyway, what I was doing, just to take a break from things, I was watching, Matt Busby on a couple different TV shows, movies. Last night I saw some movie that had a really good cast, but it was god-awful. I bought it for $5 on iTunes when I got home last night. And I got to look up the name of this movie now. It was based upon a comic book, but it looked pretty entertaining. It was R.I.P.D. Rest in Peace, official trailer. The cast was really good. It had Jeff Bridges, Ryan Reynolds, Kevin Bacon, and I never really knew much. Chick from Weeds, the TV show. I've never seen that, but I thought she looked pretty hot. Mary Louise, I can't get the last part. Mary Louise Parker. In a weird way, she's kind of hot, but she's like in this movie called R.I.P.D. And it was $5. It's like, why not get it? But it had a lot of recognizable actors, well-known actors, and it was just a god-awful movie, but it was entertaining. And again, Mary Louise Parker, I had to look her up. It's like, yeah, she looks pretty hot. Who's that chick in this movie? And I find out she was the main character in that TV show called Weeds. But yeah, there is I don't even want to use that word because I'll get corrected, but I am going to use it anyhow. A plethora of different actors in this god-awful movie. So, and again, it's called R.I.P.D. It's based upon a comic book, so what can you say? I mean, a lot of these movies are based upon comic books, but you know what? I've just got to the point. It's like, I'm not going to believe what I read on these movies because, if the movies generally, Rotten Tomatoes gives it a awful rating, generally it's pretty damn good. And I got to remember that these people who downplay movies that are actually kind of really entertaining, I'm going like I'm using two types of terms, are generally really good. But you know who are these people are the same people who probably go to Black Lives Matter protest and other ralies and hate President Trump. So why am I going to believe anything they say? Because here's a good example. It was an okay movie, but it was definitely not the worst movie I've ever seen. And on Rotten Tomatoes, it got 5%. It was that movie on Fantasy Island. Now, I actually ended up getting it because I really wanted to see it because there's a guy that I work with. He loves watching the old TV shows of Fantasy Island for a while there. So I figured, oh, you know what? Blumhouse has made a movie out of it. I believe that's the name of the movie company. And it kind of looked really bad, but I figured I'll give it a shot. So it finally ended up on iTunes, and what I would have paid for a ticket to see it in the theaters, I ended up just buying it and have it on my iTunes account. And actually, it was pretty damn good. I thought it was not like, okay, it's not like Gone with the Wind kind of material, but it was definitely entertaining, and it was definitely a little bit of a refreshing kind of movie from my normal movies I watch. Like I actually purchased for $10 both Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and in addition, it was in the package deal, was the second one called The Bogus Adventure or whatever. And yeah, Bogus was like, it was horrible, both of them. And they're going to make a third one. And I feel bad because Keanu Reeves is a really good action hero. And he's going back to play like the idiot guy that he played years ago as in those Bill and Ted Excellent Adventures. And they pancaked so much makeup on the previews for the movie, the third one, so much makeup on Keanu Reeves' face that it looks like he looks like a drag queen practically. It looks god awful, the acting, and I feel bad for him because you're going back to. I guess it's almost like you're obligated to, but I wouldn't have done it. It gives the other actor in the movie who plays his best friend a chance to actually act in something else because he's never been in anything past those two films, Bill and Ted. But it doesn't change the fact that it looks like it should go right to video. It probably will because of this shutdown. It'll be one of those movies that is so bad they're just going to make up an excuse just to have it go right to video and say, oh, it's because of coronavirus. No, it's because it's just god-awful. It might even be one of those things that give you a package deal on a 4K copy or a Blu-ray because it's that bad, awful looking. Alrighty, so I'm probably going to get disrupted. That's why I'm losing my train of thought right now. But I do have like a lot of stories lined up, folks, on but it's trying to keep the subject matter the same, but it's just like how big the stupidity is. That's why I again watch that episode of Twilight Zone. Even just order. You probably can just order. You can buy a whole damn series for like. Sometimes Walmart has the whole series for $50, but sometimes you can buy the individual episodes. So yeah, I Am the Night, Color Me Black is a really good episode. Well, of course, a lot of the Twilight Zone episodes were really good. I mean, some of them were like a farce. But that particular one had a definite and very smart, intelligent political view in there that I think people need to realize if they're not that closed-minded, which unfortunately, I hate to say it, I think a lot of people are. Hey, on an off-subject note right this second, because I posted this from Fox 13. I don't know where that's at. You know those TJ Maxx stores, they're going to be closing a lot of those soon. You know, because this is because of that coronavirus, by the way. A lot of businesses are not going to reopen. A lot of movie theaters, in addition, are not going to open ever again. So you can thank that for the coronavirus. So that whole thing was just a whole scam by the Democrats. I don't care how you look at it. It was definitely something, like again, the Democrats wanted just, like my friend Matt would say, He didn't believe me at first, but they want this to continue, like our lovely Governor Wolf of Pennsylvania, because he has total control over brainwashed zombie. He didn't say that part, the zombie part, but the brainwash. But we got a bunch of brain dead people who want to be, as I put before, probably in prior episodes, who want to be coddled from like cradle to grave. They don't want to leave the house. If the government can take care of them, that is fine with them. Anyway, let's see. Metro. Oh, it was an article. That's from England, but it says teenager killed a World War II vet, 91, by setting him on fire. An 18-year-old. Now, they have pictures of the guy. I don't know if it mentions it in the text. 18-year-old man killed a 91-year-old Second World War veteran by beating him and dousing him with gasoline and setting him on fire. It's a black guy, too, so I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm just going to tell you, the guy who set the vet on fire was a black guy. So I guess that vet was deserving of that. I seriously doubt it. George Stewart has been sentenced to 30 to 60 years in prison after pleading guilty to second-degree murder last month. So, yeah, there we go. This is how these peaceful protests go. The one that was going on, and I think, Matt, you heard enough of it already. It was been on the news pretty much last week. It was about the Aunt Jemima thing. And, yeah, it's funny because the woman who was the spokesmodel for Aunt Jemima, she was a slave. So I got a couple stories on that. The one I have, it's actually from the Norristown Patch. Aunt Jemima, great-grandson, enraged her legacy, engraced. I'm sorry. No, it says enraged. Her legacy will be erased. Anyway, it's on the Norristown Patch. I'll probably end up messing up, so I'm just going to skip that one. But the point is, I wish I had a couple stories on the Aunt Jemima spokesmodel woman, and it was really good because, again, there was two women who actually portrayed Aunt Jemima, and both of them were prior slaves. So you don't hear about that. Actually, one thing I should bring up, I mentioned to my friend Matt and to my friend Todd, but I heard it, I think, on Stu Does America. That's on Pluto TV. Stu, I think, brought it to people's attention, at least to my attention, because I heard it. I watched it, his TV show on the Blaze TV, which is, again, on Pluto TV now, which is great because Pluto's the Blaze is very expensive to buy a subscription to because I can't afford it. So Stu says, do you know who the first owner of a black slave was? Excuse me, it was a black man. So you will not hear that anywhere. Yeah, you won't hear that anywhere. It could have been even Glenn Beck I heard that on. And that's the truth. I should have put that story up. Let's see. First slave owner in the United States. See, isn't that great? You get to hear me text. The first legal slave owner in American history was a black tobacco farmer named Anthony Johnson. Black tobacco farmer. He owned the very first slave. So if you want to know his name, Anthony Johnson. So it's the white supremacist who started all this nonsense, really, because according to this, slavery in the United States was a legal institution of human chattel enslavement, primarily of Africans and African Americans. They say both because Africa is a continent. Because guess what? Guess what a lot of the slaves were? Jews. So you don't hear about that. You only hear about the African Americans. So, you know what? Mention it. Where is Israel? Boy, I really spelled that wrong. I'm basically putting, I'm sorry, where do Jews come from? Jews, let's see. History. Okay, here's a map. Because honestly, I really don't know. But I did hear that Jews were also, they were slaves too. But you don't hear about that because that's not gonna hit the agenda of what the Democrats want to portray, that only black people were slaves. Let me do something one step better. Jews were before I make a total ass of myself, I want to make sure I get this right. Yeah, 19th century. But yeah, Jews were also slaves. So, let me do one thing, last thing. I'm sorry. I just put who were the slaves in the United States. Yeah, it's this United States legal institution, whatever, primary Africans and African Americans. So saying Africans is and then saying African Americans basically is stating that, yeah, it was not just black people who were slaves, but yet that's all you ever hear about. And again, the first owner of slaves was a black tobacco farmer. So, but you won't hear about that anywhere because that does not. No, again, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit their agenda. So, how come all you hear about are Africans being slaves, but you don't hear about anybody else from Africa? I mean, from Africa, the continent, that were slaves, other than just Africans. I mean, just other than black people. That's all you hear about. So, again, because the ones who were against blacks in U.S. Really wasn't the North. It was the South when they were freed. Because that was cheap, and that was very cheap or free labor, basically. So they didn't like that. Now, the North had their grievances or dislikes for blacks, but guess what that reason was? Because I heard this on the show, and I was like, you know what? I never thought of this before. Well, the reason was because when slaves were freed, they would work for lower wages than most Americans would. So, and it was like, yeah, I never thought about that because I forget what show. Maybe that was Stu Does America Also. It's on what do you call it? On that Blaze TV. I'm trying because I'm running out of time really quickly now. And he said, yeah, the Northerners hated the black people too once they were freed because it's like the same way United States hates Hispanics and other nationalities coming into this country. You know why? Because for the same exact reason, because they work for cheaper labor. They are cheaper labor. So say you're paying somebody who is a union member $30 an hour when you can hire somebody from some other country for like $5 an hour. I mean, it's a no-brainer. And you don't even have to give them benefits. So that was the same thing. You had people who were property during after the Civil War, who are now free and looking for work. So they're going to work for anything because they never owned anything. So they don't know any better. So, but that's the part they won't tell you also. Yeah, I apologize. I wish I had more time and I did more research, but I actually I can't. I don't have enough time. The first person to own a slave was a black man by the name of Anthony Johnson. He was in. It says Angloan. It's Anglolan, who came to the colonies as an indentured servant in 1621, and after several years, he gained his freedom, and as a token of his appreciation, the colony gave Johnson land, and then he was the person who owned the first black slave. So it was a black man who originally was an indentured servant. And I'm not going to go because I could just elaborate on this stuff, but then I won't be able to fit any other stories in. And I am at 40 minutes already, surprisingly. For as bad as my show is, I'm at 40 minutes. Anyway, there was another story. I have tons of stories. That's my problem. Video, black man bludgeons white woman and then gets plummeted himself. That's actually on my Facebook page. That's what you call instant karma, because people feel like they are entitled. They can do whatever they want. Tons of these kind of stories, by the way, of black people beating up white people, but you never really hear about this on the general population, on the general news. You will hear it here. I'm not trying to say all black people are bad, but at the same time, I am not going to hide the fact that this hatred towards somebody of a different color is not just coming from Caucasians, but also from the other sides of the spectrum. It's some story. It says 5 people broke into a home of an 83-year-old lady in Georgia because she had no money to give them. They beat her miraculously, leaving her with multiple broken bones and head injuries. The 5 left then and returned pouring lighter fluid on the lady and set her on fire. The lady died, surprisingly. All 5 people are black. 3 black gentlemen, which I don't want to really call them that if you do that to a human being, and 2 black women. So it has nothing to do with their skin color, but since you're the one who brings up that Black Lives Matter, this is the way you treat people, because you feel like you're entitled. You are allowed to set a person of lighter color on a lighter skin on fire because, of repression, which is a bunch of nonsense. I heard that one day at work, by the way. I had these people, I actually just bit my tongue as I heard a white woman and a black lady I work with going off on how evil white people are, and that this is for real, that we've been repressed for 200 and some change years, and that the white woman was almost in tears because she can't believe how ignorant and racist white people are. And the black lady said that even Christopher Columbus, who was Italian, was racist. And I started getting really bad chest pains. I physically thought I was going to have a heart attack, and I just couldn't go anywhere, like I was trapped in this situation. And it's just what makes me more and more angry with people. Again, not knowing the facts and being really stupid. Yeah, this video got plastered, I think, from Debbie, so I have to thank her if it was. Victim heartbroken at abuse of a BLM after 5 black men beat him bloody outside a Texas store. And there's a video on that one. The Texas man was a victim of what police are calling a brutal attack by a group of thugs who punched and kicked him outside a gas station convenience store. So this one has the video attached. It was plastered. This guy was minding his own business, and 5 black people attacked him outside of a convenience store. But again, I guess even though this guy was minding his own business, did not do anything wrong, it's his fault. So, yeah, I mean, can you see a pattern? I mean, I do. I'm not that blind to things. Okay, here's another one, another black guy. I'm just trying to point this out that, if you're going to call every person that's white racist and that we need to change things and that only Black Lives Matter, I will attack back. Man chokes and sexually assaults woman in Manhattan Park, runs off with her jewelry. Police. And I already said man choked a woman, sexually assaulted her in Manhattan Park before running off with her jewelry again, because it's just said the title and in the story, it's the same thing. That was from the New York Times, and I am not going to get a subscription to that because it's just too damn expensive. Here's one. Let's see. Daily News. Teenager security guard shot and killed by Los Angeles police during shift at auto shop. So, okay. Then I gave one for the other side of the fence, or whatever you want to say. A teenage security guard keep watching over California auto body shop. Map before you go for a job at any auto body shop. Maybe you should read this yourself. Was killed, not that we're in Los Angeles, by Los Angeles police officer while working the night shift. That one I should really read, but you know what? They don't go into any grave detail why it happened. So, who knows? I'm not trying to brush it off. I'm just going to let you know right now. I only got like 10 minutes left, and I got a lot of stories. That's the truth. Okay. If you're going to call, here's a good one. If you want to call, what is it? That brand that does Quaker? Is it Quaker Oats? Quaker Oats, who makes the Aunt Jemima pancake syrup and pancake batter, which, by the way, Stu he had a whole episode on that on his Blaze TV show. And he said, who buys those products? Majority of people are black. White people really don't have that much of an interest in those products. And Hispanic people even less. So, so it's blacks buy Aunt Jemima products. I say products because it's syrup and pancake mix, which is damn good too, yo. Let's see. If you want to call, this company's racist or everything, why don't you just do it with Volkswagen? Because Volkswagen was making, I don't have that story up. We're making cars for the Nazis. I'm just giving you the plain, simple, extremely, abridged version of that story. And then there's IBM. This is the hidden Nazi history of IBM and the man who tried to expose it. In Hitler Germany, it said the trains to the death camps ran on time. What goes unsaid is why they worked so efficiently, transporting Jews between ghettos and concentration camps on tight schedules. They were powered by IBM. So, yeah, you won't hear about that. So, IBM really should change their name because they were sending Jews to their death. But apparently that's not a big deal because the only thing that's a big deal is if you're black. Nothing else truly matters. Only the fact that if you're black, you're victimized and you should have everybody bend over backwards and give you whatever you want. Whatever your heart desires, you should get it. That's what I'm hearing. In fact, you should get a free ticket and the best grades if you go to college. You should get the best job. You should make the most money because you're the most victimized of them all. I'm going to pause this thing here. Not my thing. I have a story. Latest NYPD crime statistics show increase in murders, shootings, and burglaries. So guess what, by the way? A lot of these states, blue states, police officers are quitting like they're dropping like flies because they don't want to deal with this nonsense anymore. If you're not going to be protected and you're going to have people basically, what do you call it? Disrespecting you. Why would you even want to work that damn job? Because it makes no sense to me either. So, yeah, they're quitting. Anyway, oh well. So anyway, they had the statistics. I don't know if I can get this to refresh itself. But, okay, here we go. There was some stats on let me see if I can get this again. I'm going to do it real quick. Oh, shoot. I apologize. Yeah, I had... okay. It says murders in the city increased by... in New York City, by the way. New York City, it increased by 79%. Shootings went up 64%, and while burglaries rose 34%. So the bottom line, all this wonderful, we need to decrease the amount of people that are, on the police force. We got to cut back on the amount of police. Well, guess what? It says murders again, 79%, went up by 79% in New York City. Shootings went up by 64%, and burglaries went up by 34%. They went up by that much. So what is that telling you? Well, what it's telling me, at least, is that when you stop having as many police, you're going to have more individuals, which my friend Matt actually had proven, more people carrying weapons on themselves just to protect themselves. And you think the cops are bad. When you have a person that you break in their house, don't be surprised if you find a bullet between your eyes, and that's going to be the last thing you're going to see, because that's exactly what's going to happen. So just to let you know, stupidity is for every reaction. Remember this from science class. Maybe you haven't had a science class because you don't need one, because you're entitled not to have to take one. Every action creates an equal and opposite reaction. So every action, this is what you learn in science, like the first day in science class. Every action creates a equal reaction. So just to let you know. Anyway, on another note, because I am running out of time and I do have a crap load of stories and I do want to finish this. This was the News and Observer. Protesters removed 2 Confederate statues from the Capitol, hanging one from Raleigh Light Post. So that's North Carolina, I believe, Raleigh. So it's really smart. That's what we learned. Oh, here's a good one. News 10 and San Diego. PETA milk. It says PETA. Cow's milk is a symbol of white supremacy. So, yeah, now that's going to be banned. White milk, which is necessary for infants to grow, white milk is white supremacist. It's white supremacy. I mean, where does it stop? Where does it stop? I don't think it ever will stop, because people are without a doubt, they're dumb. And I'm sorry, I can't even say just a small percentage. It's a lot bigger than I'd like to even admit. Funny story from Christian Headline News. Michael Jackson's daughter to portray Jesus as a lesbian woman in a controversial film. Well, I think it would be. If you got, she's white, if that means anything, but she was adopted, but she's going to play a lesbian Jesus in a controversial film. That sounds really pretty bad. Let's see, because I'm going to try to round this up in the next couple seconds, and I will try to find a piece of music from that and throw it in the very end. And I won't tell you because I don't even know myself. Teens who vandalized, this was on Fox News, who vandalized St. Patrick's Cathedral amid George Floyd's protest are arrested, police say. But guess what? a lot of these people are caught and released because police can't obtain anybody unless you actually murder somebody. You're let go right away. Story from K5, wherever that is. It's a local news channel. I put this story in the mix. Police continue to investigate after several bags of human remains found in West Seattle Beach. Seattle police responded after getting calls about suspicious bags on the beach near the water in the area of Luna Park in West Seattle. They found body parts. So, congratulations. These are the people that I'm so glad whoever are involved are the ones who probably are at these, also, I'm sure, at these protests. And you know what? I have a ton of more stories. I'm going to probably just have to let him go at this point. Because, I got more than a handful of stories, unless I can just kind of rush through them. Oh, Muhammad Ali's son says dad would have hated racist Black Lives Matter. Like his son, Muhammad Ali, great boxer, his son said his father would be totally against this whole Black Lives Matter. I respect people like that. I respect people a lot like that. Here's a New York story. A black man punches 73-year-old woman on Bronx subway platform. And that one had a video attached. So it's not like, oh, you're being racist or you're just making up this story. How can you make it up when you got video footage of it? Because that's what ends up happening. And I get really tired of that. Oh, this is for me, my people. The Italian-American Earthlings. This is from the Duran. It's Duran, like, Duran, the band. It's spelled the same way. Enraged Italians abandoned masked, denounced pandemic as a scam. Meet Orange Vest. Hundreds of Italians demonstrators gathered in Rome's Piazza del Palato. Hey, I'm Italian. I can't even pronounce it. On Tuesday, ditching their mask in protest against the Italian government's lockdown restrictions aimed at control and spread of COVID-19. That is beautiful. Thank you, my people. Okay, I'm Sicilian, so maybe not. Here was a funny one. I sent this. Gwyneth Paltrow put out a candle, and it's titled on the candle, "This smells like my vagina." That is really, really classy. That's incredible, Gwyneth. And I always thought she was kind of good looking, and she's got an incredible voice, singing wise, because I saw her in Glee one of those seasons. Gwyneth Paltrow released a candle, and this time it smells like her orgasms. Actually, on the candle itself, it says it smells like my vagina. I would just like to get one for shits and giggles because I don't think it's going to last very long. Let's see. Yeah, I only got 2 minutes left. Let's see. The story, Daily News, 5-year-old dies after being thrown from a riding mower and run over. It was in New York. I'm not going to say anything, the state of New York. I'm going to bite my tongue on that because I just have this hatred towards New York and New Jersey people who are just flocking to Pennsylvania. It seems like to me, Matt, in very large droves because they're tired of paying high taxes. That is my opinion. Limerick Worsford Spring City, PA patch. Woman accused of burning Philly cops' cars denied bail reports. Well, that's a good one. I like that. Elizabeth, 33, Philadelphia, was held without bail by federal authorities, NBC 10 News reports. Well, good. Finally, they did something right. And the fact is, I am out of time, so I apologize because I only have seconds left. Officers down. 2 deputies brutally attacked, stabbed in Texas. Suspects escaped. They have a video surveillance picture of the suspects. I know it's going to be hard to believe, but they're black. So I'm sorry, but the camera must lie. We got in discussion last night, and yeah, cameras can lie about things, but a person's skin color, I don't think it really can. Riots spurred by death of George Floyd taking heavy toll on Black Lives in Black Lives communities. Yeah, no shit, because you're burning them all down. Yeah, it's another story. I already read this one, but it was Daily Mail this time. I don't know what I read from the last time, and it was a story about the teens who beat a World War II veteran to death with flashlights in a random attack in a parking lot. And I think that's the one they set the guy ablaze. Then afterwards, they doused him gasoline and set him ablaze. So that's really, really, really smart to do. I hope you know I'm being sarcastic because I don't believe that at all. Atlanta News, it's AJC, but it's called Atlanta News Now. Cops, woman faces human trafficking charges, moved two girls from Atlanta to Alabama, and it's a black woman, and she's being held on $1 million bail. Maybe she didn't think it was a problem, sex trafficking girls, young girls. Oh, this one just, I got a couple of responses back on this one. It was from Fox News, but it was Fox News 8. Ohio cafe employees stage walkout to boycott company policy offering discounts to police and firefighters. Again, because of George Floyd's death. These people are complete fucking morons. I apologize. I just had to get that in there. I did find, I'm way over my hour, but I did find the one on Aunt Jemima, and I thank Susan Walsh, who put it up on Facebook. The world knew her as Aunt Jemima, but her given name was Nancy Green, and she was a true American success story. She was born a slave in 1834, Montgomery County, Kentucky, and became a wealthy superstar in the advertising world as its first live-in trademark. Green was 56 years old when she was selected as a spokesperson for a new ready-mix self-rising pancake flour and made her debut in 1893 at the Fair and Exposition in Chicago. And it goes on to tell you more. There was another person after Nancy Green, but this is all going to be erased now. So this woman who literally was a rags to riches because she was a slave who back in 1834, they had picked her to play the spokesmodel, Nancy Green, to play Aunt Jemima. And she ended up a very wealthy woman, like a millionaire. Okay, because I didn't want to read the whole thing, and I'm believe it or not, I'm not. Nancy Green was signed to a lifetime contract, traveled on promotional tours all over the country, and was extremely well paid. Her financial freedom and stature as a national spokesperson enabled her to become a leading advocate against poverty and, in favor of equal rights for folks in Chicago, which is no longer the case. Thanks to the Democrats, that's all been erased. She was also one of the very first African-American missionary workers. She maintained her job until her death in 1923 at the age of 89. Nancy Green was a remarkable woman who achieved amazing success, and it has just been erased by politically correct bedwetters. So I love that. Thank you so much for that. Real quick, because I am way over the hour now. I haven't done this in a while, but these are just too good to turn down. Webpage called Express. To Kill a Mockingbird and Huckleberry Finn books banned from Minnesota school syllabuses. You know, the syllabus you get, well, they're not going to be on the list of books to read. I read those when I was in college. In fact, I think more than one semester I had a professor who actually taught both those books. Now, most of those books you read in high school. I read those in college. I had read both those books I had to read. I'm not going to say forced to read, but I had to read those. So now they're being banned because they are racist. It was a matter of time. Family of a woman who portrayed Aunt Jemima opposes move to change brand. Thank you. That was on WBTV. So I hope there is a lot of kickback or fighting back on this whole nonsense of we need to get rid of the Aunt Jemima spokesmodel, because that woman, again, what she did for black Americans is going to be completely erased. And you can thank the Democrats for that. Unless you're that stupid, you can't realize that. Anyway, some guy, Tommy Angel, put this up on Facebook, and he has a picture of 9/11 when both buildings were coming down. And he wrote, "We weren't black, we weren't white, we were just Americans on this day." That was 9/11. This is what real hate looks like. They don't hate us because of our skin color. They just hate Americans. If you don't come together, if we don't come together, get past our differences, we will be attacked again by real enemies. And that is really good. So, you know what, Tommy Angel, I love that. I hope you don't mind. I used it on my stupid podcast. I will end the show with that. And I hope you enjoyed it tonight, because I haven't done one in a couple weeks. And like I said, I will play one of Matt's pieces of instrumental music. Have a good night. It's Walter from iWalter, and I am signing off finally.